Evening and welcome to the August 3rd meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome. Those of you that are in attendance and those of you that have dialed in, we have no public hearing tonight. Any announcements from the board?
I have none.
Okay. We would like to take a few seconds. Tonight is Gary Lamb's last evening with us. He is moving on to the city of Hollowell. Much smaller population than Waterboro.
2,500 people.
So we'd like to take some, at least a time to thank him for his service over the last 8 years. Here in the town, and certainly there was a whole movement with the change of the charter, which brought in kind of new responsibilities and authorities to the town administrative position, and certainly some other issues in and around the town charter. So he was instrumental in helping us get through that. I think he's leaving a real good, solid team to work here. We are pursuing with the help of Maine Municipal Association further recruitment for a new town administrator, but I'd like to take a couple of minutes and at least present Gary, town administrator from 2013 to 2021. In appreciation for your support of the town of Waterboro, its residents, staff, and committees. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
Gary's last day is Friday. Are you taking vacation between now?
My wife told me I had to take time off, so I took the weekend. So.
All right. So, again, we want to thank Gary for his contributions to the town, and certainly well appreciated. And we wish him well in his new venture up in the city of Hollowell. So,
thank you very much.
Good luck.
And if you want me to come back and spend a day or two with the new person, I'm happy to do that. But that's up to you folks. Yeah.
We will probably take that up as. Okay. Additions and deletions to the agenda. We just had a workshop, and we do have to address that, the results of that workshop. So I'd entertain a motion to add to, under new business, item D, which would be to determine or pass on the request to the planning board to consider adding bulk propane storage to the A&R zone. Second.
Who moved it? I didn't hear it.
No. Okay. Mike Dennis actually made the motion of what needed to be the motion, so.
Right. So,
go ahead and
Mike,
approve
you
it,
making the
Mike.
motion?
Sure.
You'll endorse the motion. I need a second.
Second.
All right, so Mike and Dwayne.
Yeah.
All those in favor of adding it to as 9D under new business? Motion carries.
5-0.
Can you read me a pen?
All right.
Thank you.
We do have an appointment tonight, Shirley Bartlett, who is our assessor. We're going to talk about mill rates, and it is her responsibility to set the mill rate, but certainly She has provided us with a bunch of information. There are a couple of things that of note. Certainly the budget of the town of Waterboro has increased significantly between what the RSU 57 requirements are and as well as what we did in the municipal election or a municipal vote. There are also some concerns with, for those of you that had homestead exemptions and you didn't get the full $25,000 of homestead exemption last year, it's because there's a valuation decline in the state of, or in the town of Waterboro versus what the state says we are. That's all driven by whether we're over 90%, I think, right, Shirley,
Yes.
and whatnot. So one of the proposals here, I think, is to do nothing, which is not to change any of the assessments at all or any values at all. Unfortunately, if we do that, that's going to drop your homestead exemption down to like 91%. I think that's what you got here, right? So if we did that, you're not going to get, the tax rate's going to go to 1645 from its current 1539. So it's going to make a significant jump.
We're on the green sheet.
And you're also going to lose on the other end. So you're going to see about a 10% increase in your taxes. If you're somewhere in the $250,000 range, you're going to see about a $300, $270 increase in taxes. One of the concerns that Shirley has, and we've talked about this between her and Gary and I, is that let's if we bump the valuation, everybody's valuation up by 10%, and I'm going to jump right to that, which is the, I think the
Yellow sheet.
Yellow sheet. If you jump to current valuation times 10%, that brings us in compliance, we think, with the state, which means that everybody will then get 100% of their homestead and veteran exemptions. It's a few more bucks than what we are. The tax rate would drop to 1505, okay, from the current 1539. So we'll see a decrease in the tax rate, but everyone's taxes are still going to be somewhere in the 9% range increase. And again, if you're got a $250,000 home, valuation, you're looking at $300, $280 increase. And one of the dilemmas that we are facing is, and all you got to do is follow the sales that are happening in town, is that people are selling properties for twice what we have them assessed at, and that drives the state, because the state really doesn't care about what we have assessed at. All they care about is what the market is telling us that they're doing. So that's the dilemma that we've got. We're chasing it up right now. If everybody recalls, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, we chased it down and we actually reduced the valuation on everybody's property. I think it was what, 17%
Land only.
So anyway, we're in that mode of the cost of doing business is continuing to rise, even though the state has funded education at a full 55%. We will not see that in this budget. My assumption is that the vote that was done in June is the vote, and what we will see is a fairly significant fund balance in the RSU 57 once that gets done. We've increased here the state revenue sharing, which was at, what, $500,000 this year, and we brought it up by $250,000 because the state revenue sharing is being increased. So it is what it is. We're trying to work the best we can with the numbers. Unfortunately, like I said, we're looking at probably at this point increasing valuation so that we can get 100% of the homestead exemption to everybody, because that's a state law that if we're not within 10% of what they say that we are, then we start debiting down everybody's homestead exemption. And I think last year it was 24,000.
We had it playing 98%.
Right.
Last
So
year it was 24.5.
So we had 24.5, so everybody lost $500 worth of exemptions, so, which not, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not real significant. So that's where we're at. So I guess I'll turn it over to Shirley if she has any additional information, and we can determine whether we're going to move forward with one of these proposals. But ultimately, it's Shirley's decision, although she does like to have our endorsement.
Yes. I don't really have much to add. You've covered everything. The only thing that I might say is that what gives us our percentage this year is based on sales from 2018 and 19. So they're dated, they're older now too, and we continue to go down, you know, our ratio goes down. So raising values isn't a bad thing to do this year.
Yeah, and if anybody remembers, 2007, we did 100% revaluation. You know, we pulled that trigger in 2009, I think, in the tax rates. We would have to go back to, if we don't bump up the valuation across the board, then we would actually responsibility to go back and do 100% revaluation. That is going to be, you know, a third of the properties are going to go down, a third of the properties are going to stay the same, and a third of the properties are going to go sky high. But ultimately, the net amount of money is still required to do the business of the town. So.
And when you do those, you're in the $100,000 to $200,000 cost range?
To do a revaluation.
Reval for 4,200 parcels?
It depends on how extensive you get with it to look at, physically inspect every property. It's anywhere from $60 to $100 per parcel, per count.
So
We got 4,200 parcels or
Right.
more.
Yeah.
So.
Big thing to keep in mind as we talk here is the budget is up 1.2 million, about 9%. 500,000 of that was the school. We didn't know that at the time we finished the municipal budget. Municipal budget's a little over 710, up from last year. Last year's total increase was I think 493. So what we're spending as we grow is the big result of what the bottom line tax bills are going to be here. But certainly a 10% increase to value makes sense in terms of what we should be doing in terms of trying to get to 100% valuation.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to chase it for the next year, maybe 3,
Yes.
depending on, because, you know, next year's taxes will be based on 19 and 20.
Yes.
The year after that will be based on 2021. So if this market doesn't flatten out, then we're going to be chasing this for some time.
For a few years. There's one other thing to think about too, is the different areas of town. Waterfronts, I think last year they were at 69% ratio. What they do to calculate the reimbursements is just on non-waterfront residential property. So at some point we need to look at the different areas and adjust accordingly per area or neighborhood.
Comments?
When you say 69% for waterfront, it means that the value that the town puts on the waterfront property is 69% of the
The
total value?
market,
Base value.
of the
The market
market
value.
value.
The market value.
Yes,
So for
Well-
everybody that you see over there selling for these high numbers, all they're doing is skewing the ratio.
Well,
that's right.
yes, and unfortunately, Mainers, they're getting priced out of that market. You know, it's, yeah, it's, and I don't know if a third of the properties would go down, to be honest with you. I don't see any investment in this town going down.
No,
I only see them going up.
I would agree. And
So I'd say 2/3 go up,
you know,
and 1/3 stays the same.
the advantage that we thought we had is, you know, we approved a couple of huge solar farms, and unfortunately, in all their infinite wisdom in the legislature, they exempted all of those solar farms from property taxes. So, for the Maine Constitution, all we're gonna get is 50%
That's right.
reimbursement from the state, not from the landowner, but from the state, on those solar farms once they're up and running. And I think there's only one that's really, I don't even know if they're close, but they at least got panels on. So.
Yes,
So we're gonna chase this market for some time, and unfortunately, the state, they determine, based on the market, and they select which properties they look at. It's kind of a fixed game, but we've been at this for too many years. They determine what the value of the town is, and school funding is based on that. Your revenue sharing is based on that. All of those things are based on what the state feels is the value of the community, not what we say it is.
I think Shirley and I are on the same page that the right thing to do is the 10% increase because of what's happening in the market. That yellow sheet is a recommendation from the two of us.
So it does reduce the proposed overlay by a significant amount, but I think given where we are, I think that makes some sense. There's not a huge amount of business equipment tax exemptions, right? I mean, there's, what, only $14,000 to $15,000, right?
yes.
So,
For Betty, that's the Betty reimbursement.
right.
We have, for Betty qualified property, 1.9 million.
Right, but the
But
reimbursement
the
would be
reimbursement is not
15,000.
great, no.
Do we have numbers on how many parcels benefit from the homestead exemption in this town, and how many parcels benefit from the veterans program?
I could get you those counts. I think maybe 1,500 or 1,600.
Individuals?
Yes.
Well, last year, the legislature bumped the homestead exemption up to by $5,000. That was
Yes,
$4 million worth of valuation.
yeah.
So when you look at the homestead exemption of now 25,000, it's 5 times that is what that's exempting from value. So, and I'm not suggesting that doesn't get done. I mean, I think, I think we're all, happy with whatever the legislature comes up with, but unfortunately, it's not a bigger win as they would suggest politically it is. So
That's true.
we're always saying, hey, we reduced property tax. Well, you can't continue to raise the cost of doing business. So I'm really, I guess we're just looking for a thumbs up here more than anything else. I mean, ultimately Shirley is gonna pull the trigger, but I think she would like us to at least endorse one of the others. And just so you know, if you look at the 5% increase, which is the fluorescent pink paper, we would only get 95% homestead and veteran reimbursement out of that. So it would still raise the tax amount, the out-of-pocket tax amount, but then they wouldn't get just the veterans full veterans and homestead exemption. So it would be, a little different than what it is this year, but we were at 98% this year. It's going to drop.
Yes.
So this is a vicious circle.
I'll make a motion to endorse the 10% increase in value on the yellow sheet to, I hate to see anybody's taxes go up, but we've got, in my mind, no choice but to go with the yellow.
Budget's going up, so.
Everything's going up, and I'll make a motion that we endorse the 10% increase in value for the tax base.
Choose to second that?
I'll second that with a discussion.
Okay.
So, if we did the 5%, it brings us up to 95% for the homestead and veterans exemptions.
Yep.
What's the approximate mill rate on that? And what would the increase be?
1572 is the mill rate.
Yeah.
So, and I did a couple of properties.
Yeah.
It would be about, let's just talk to two differences. The FY22 with a 5% bump is for a house worth $232,000 or $250,000, $3,652. If you went the 10% bump, it's $3,661. So it's $9 difference.
There's not a big difference in
Right.
any of the three options to the taxpayer, the average taxpayer.
And I took another one that's close to $300,000, and you're talking $44.16 versus $44.27. So again, it's about a $9 difference either way. Because you gain homestead exemption,
Yep.
right? You gain that 5%.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's the cost of doing business, so.
Any other
That's all I have.
discussion? Sensing none, I'll call for this. Yep, go ahead.
We're caught in a pickle here because we don't want to affect the homestead and the veterans. And I think that's ultimately very important because there's a lot of families that rely on that. And it's a nice way to honor veterans. Moving forward, though, I think one thing that needs to happen is when the budget is put forth and people vote on a budget, they should know what the expected outcome might be of voting on that budget. So if you go into the voting booth and you vote on a budget and you know that budget's going up, it's not going to be a wash.
It's very hard to do
It's hard.
that, Mike,
Well,
Because of the school.
because of the school budget.
but just the municipal budget alone is something that we can forecast.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I think generally that we try to make sure that everybody is aware of what we're increasing. I mean, this year we saw $100,000 or $60,000 a year on just the snowplow contract. I mean, you start adding those little bits and pieces up, and all of a sudden that adds up to real money. So
We're on a path to becoming very unaffordable.
we're not alone in that, but
I'm aware.
But I think you're right. I think we really need to probably do a much deeper dive when we and we can't, unfortunately, you can't sacrifice town infrastructure because we know that the school's gonna go up by $500,000, right? And we did that for a long time.
We did that for a long time, right in your paving. I'm gonna use your paving as an example, but they kept cutting the paving funds, and now look at what you've got for roads out there that are falling apart, because rather than 7 years, repaving every 7 years on a piece of road, we went to 10 and 15, and now you're paying for it.
So,
There's many other projects of the same caliber.
but I think, you know, I mean, you're 100% right, Mike. I think that, you know, and I think we've done as good a job as we can to estimate what it is gonna be. The problem becomes a little bit of the message of how do you get that across to people so that they know when they're voting what it is. And that has, I mean, used to be 60 or 70 people decided that, and now at least we get 500 or 600, but, in a referendum vote, but.
And you can go back to 50 or 70 articles on a townhouse floor, you know, a referendum, and explain what that's gonna cost. But trying to get people to be able to vote and not have to stay in there for half an hour, we've grouped things together so that it's a little easier to vote on.
Yeah, we could always do more articles. Mike, we've always, in the 8 years I've been here, we've always done a memo for the municipal budget that's available to people for what the increase has been. I think you're spot on when people don't know. The challenge is to educate the electorate and get it out to them. And without a newspaper now, that hurts us. But, I mean, we use social media, I think, as much as we can. We have a very vibrant website. Dave does a great job with that. A lot of other people contribute to that. But if you don't look, you don't know before you go into the voting booth. And that's the job of the voter, and to be a citizen. So you have to do those things.
All right, any other discussion? Sensing none, this is for an endorsement of, we'll call it the yellow sheet here, so the tax rate would be 1505, and we would bump up all valuation by 10%.
Well, she'll send out if there's any
Right.
changes.
Right.
But
All those in favor? Opposed?
5-0.
Motion carries. Thank you, Shirley.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. Any comment by the general public? Sensing none, we'll move on to, there are correspondence. We get the treasurer's reports. Message from Congresswoman Chellie Pingree, Senator Woodsome's newsletter, Cable Charter Communications, which is Spectrum, Maine Municipal press release, and 211 Maine updates. Those are all available here at the town hall. If someone was interested in looking at them, just give Laura a call in the Selectmen's office, and she can make sure that you get a copy. Reports and staff initiatives. Selectmen's reports. Dwayne, anything?
No, I heard nothing.
David?
There's nothing this week, sir.
I don't have anything.
Yeah. Almost. I think I'm all set as well, so we'll toss it over to Gary.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We had bids due for the middle school generator. They were due last Friday, July 30th. Remember, this project will give us a generator and a proper, I'm assuming, Red Cross certifiable shelter at the middle school. The middle school was constructed with a generator in mind, but it was not approved, and this would take care of that. 3 bids were received. Bridges Electric Incorporated for $118,800, Banner Corporation for $129,914, and BSP Company for $204,742. Business director, business manager for RSU 57 was here at the bid opening. Matt, Laura Fish, and myself, and staff is going through the bids for completeness before recommending who the town, remember the town's going to issue this bid award, because the money goes through the town, even though it's being constructed at the school. There was a little bit of discussion before the meeting tonight about the ladder truck. It's actually going to come here in 2021, and we hope by the end of September. Staff will hopefully be going around on or around August 18th to the E1 factory. That's all part of the package for the truck in terms of payment for the travel, for staff to inspect the truck, and then it comes up here sometime in September. Not much of an update on Lions Field. The wiring's been done for some time. We're still waiting on the lights, and it's estimated at 2 to 3 days on site once the lights arrive to Norman's Electric. And some good news of a significant sum of money that came from Maine Municipal Association's Risk Management Division for our good workman's comp results in terms of number of claims and lost work time. We recently got a check for $5,064 because of good safety, on the job safety. A great amount of thanks go to fire and EMS staff, Public Works, including the transfer station, and recreation and maintenance, since that's where most of the injuries lie. But I want to thank all Waterboro employees to make us a safer place, and there's $5,000 to prove that we've been working in the right direction. And on a semi-personal note here, I've been a member of the Legislative Policy Committee for MMA for quite a few years now. What that is 2 people from each state Senate district that go up and comment on legislation that's municipal related. Board of Selectmen, I didn't realize this until a week and a half ago, the Board of Selectmen can pick a replacement for me for the session that starts in January. My term runs out in June 30th of 22. So if you want to have somebody to take my place for the 6-month session starting in the next calendar year, you folks can do that. The next formal election of that would have to go through all the towns. And what I had to do was kind of campaign by letter in Cornish, Limerick, Newfield, Parsonsfield, Sanford, Chapley, and here to get on that board. But I would suggest that if you do have somebody that wants to do that, it is probably 3 to 5 trips to Augusta, if we're not Zooming, to sit at Maine Municipal Association next to the Civic Center for a half-a-day meeting. So that'd be up to you folks. I'm just telling you that you can do that. That's it from me. Thank you. And I really appreciate sentiments tonight. And I'm going to miss you folks. Please call me if you need any assistance, and I've already extended that to the staff.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. All right, let's jump into new business. Discussion on possible meeting on August 10th with MMA consultant. I did speak to Dave Barrett today, as I mentioned to you folks earlier. We penciled in a Zoom meeting for 6 p.m. next Tuesday. You can do that here, or you can do that from your comfort of your house if you'd like, but Dave Barrett will join us. Dave Lowe will ask Dave to set the Zoom session up, and we'll make sure that Barrett gets that thing. So if you want, we'll put him up on the big screen here, and we'll come in here for, he thinks it's probably an hour by the time he gets through discussing what we want to see in our next town administrator, and those kinds of things. So anyway, and as long as everybody's okay with that, I will finalize that with Dave Barrett. Okay?
Thank you. I'm all set. I just soon come in here.
All right. Yeah, we can certainly come in here. Discuss on a request for the sale of map 3, lot 55. This goes back to, it's not the first time that this has been around.
Many years.
There has been a request to look at potentially offering this up to someone to purchase as an abutter, but I believe there are 5 abutters. Is that what we ended up with?
I believe so.
And we have, the board does have the we have the authority to sell property, tax-acquired property. We're making, again, kind of an assumption that we acquired this by taxes, because I'm not sure that, right, we're not sure that we have, well, whatever interest the town is the only thing that we would sell anyway, which would be a quitclaim deed, but, so we can move forward with advertising, sales maybe by public auction. An auction does not produce a bid at least equal to the town's predetermined reserve, or by sealed bid. So we can pretty much do what we want with regard to that. Typically, we've offered property to abutters first, but it is a substantial piece of property that I'm not sure we quite understand how we acquired it, but Wayne had asked that we put it on the agenda, and I think he was approached.
I was approached at the last meeting of possible sale of this piece of property by Mr. Scott. When I got researching it, I realized that there was 5 abutters that abutted this piece of property, but it's also a landlocked piece of property.
So we would have to ultimately probably go to an abutter, so that would be access to it.
The question I've got is, back in the 90s, we looked at this piece of property and we decided not to sell it, but I'm not sure why. I can't find even my own records of this piece of property, so there's probably got to be a little bit of research done to whether we acquired this by tax liens.
How long would you say we've owned this property? At least 20, 30 years?
Yeah, at least.
Are there any right-of-ways to it?
No,
None.
No, it's landlocked. So I'm not sure. We used to, years ago, we had a committee that, in fact, I think Steve Everett was on that committee. He was in the Conservation Commission at the time, the Planning Board, Board of Selectmen, and we would look at tax-acquired property and make a determination of whether or not we would put that in the annual auction. At that time, we had an annual auction. And I believe that this probably was something that we either didn't understand how we acquired it, or there was a vote of that committee to not sell it. So kind of where we are now is not quite sure how we acquired it, but we know that it's landlocked, and there's 5 abutters, so we probably ought to, at least in a minimum, poke around a little bit and determine whether we have any trace back of how we acquired it.
I would dare say, to your question, Mike, probably 30 or 35 years at a minimum, because the tax records go back to 2010.
That's what I said.
I know it was before the Conservation Committee and the Planning Board and whatnot prior to that.
So that had to go back into the 90s.
Yeah.
That was so I guess that would be one of the things that maybe we can have a discussion of, maybe poking at a little bit. And I think, then you engage Steve a little bit.
Yeah, this map you had in front of was a GPS survey, not a full boundary survey done by Steve Everett. I was curious, Mike Scott's been extremely patient asking questions. And I said, well, what can we do? And Steve said, well, this might help you. And he couldn't figure out where those boundaries with the red dots really are. I mean, granted, a quitclaim deed grants our interests, even though we don't know them. I was just reluctant to sell something that could be, I don't remember the acreage of this deed. Do you remember?
A little over 20
42.
acres.
Coming in at 42.
42? I didn't know at the time whether we were conveying 42 or 25, so I would suggest, the tax acquired property ordinance, if it's relevant here, assume it is, we did a whole lot better with a real auction. We tried to auction off 40 some odd properties with sealed bids, and we sold 3. Then we went to a real auction, and we sold every doggone one of them that we had, and it was, I think, close to 4 dozen. Some of them went for $100 in Lake Arrowhead, but that's fine, we still got them back on the tax rolls. So, I mean, Mike's able to, and anybody, any of the other butters in the public can come and bid on this at a real auction, but I think that's better for everybody, and maybe the better bottom line for the town, too, to have a real auction rather than...
How many pieces do we have of tax lien properties at this point?
Tax acquired?
Tax acquired, yes.
I don't know the answer to that, because it's always changing.
Yes.
She sent out 300 lien notices, and we're probably down around 170 that haven't paid off.
Yeah.
But that's for just one tax bill.
Yeah. It always was that the town, the second Saturday of August, and I think there's an ordinance on that we have a tax
I think we-
acquired auction, and
We
it
changed
was
it.
3 years ago now that we got rid of the bulk of them.
We changed the date, I think, but, you know, we can do it anytime. But it used to be, you're right, it was on the second Saturday of August. The town shall have an auction, but we can scrub that list and look at everything. And I guess we would tee this back up, you know, if we can get a little more information on it and go from there.
In other words, maybe do more than just this one and do everything.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Anything else on this? I mean, I think
It looks like 47 acres with 8 abutters, just so you know.
we're,
47?
47 acres, according to your property card.
You know, some of them don't hit that piece of property completely.
Well, no, yeah, out of the 8, yeah, they just
Yeah.
have.
There's
Yeah,
two
yeah,
that
she does
don't
100,
go
yeah.
to the property.
Yeah, Steve looked hard for a right-of-way. I mean, there's an old road bed out there, but that essentially is all that we could say what it was.
If it ever went to a private owner that was not in a butter, and it ended up going to court, I mean, they would petition, the courts would find a right-of-way, but it would have to come out of the parent parcel. That's how the courts would look at it, because there are, according to the state of Maine, there are no landlocked parcels in the state of Maine.
And this was changed about 10 years ago, right, Steve?
I think it was more than that,
But,
yeah.
all right, so let's,
I have a question about that, what you just said there. Doesn't, I was under the impression that if the person created the land law, that did not apply. Is that-
some of these
Well,
parcels,
it could apply. It gets, typically, somebody wouldn't intentionally do that.
Spoke with the previous owner, and he said that they did
Intentionally do it.
do that, and that's why he surrendered it.
Oh.
Mike Gallo with Kamali Properties.
Right.
well, let's just do some poking around and we'll tee it back up. All right, let's move on to 9C, discuss vote to accept the resignation of Brent Dyer from the school board. You have that in your packet, or in front of you.
I brought this in for Brenda. There's quite a bunch of health problems within the family, so she feels that she can't continue at this point. She wanted to leave the doors open in case she ever wanted to do it again, and my understanding today was she's probably the only member that we've ever had that's made all but 2 meetings in 6 years, so.
Good.
She's been very well attended, but she's willing to stay through the month of August till we can get the advertisement out and whatnot. If the board accepts this tonight, we can accept it to the end of August, if you want, so that she's, the town of Waterboro has been appointed to all the committees.
So not knowing the answer to this, that's an elected spot.
Right,
How does
but
that
we have the authority to
We have-
appoint,
Okay, that's, I don't know
okay,
that.
until the next
Okay.
election.
I do not.
So, we accept the resignation, then we will have to, we would post that there is an opening on the school board that would be appointed by the Board of Selectmen through June election of next year.
Okay.
So with that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept and have it remain through August. And also, if approved, definitely thank her for her service and commitment to the town.
Okay? Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, so we can post that as soon as tomorrow. That we have a vacancy that the Board of Selectmen is trying to replace for RSU 57 board.
Yeah, the Mayo girl that was on the committee, yeah, she did not run because of the COVID and did not want to get out in the public to get her. And it may pay to just give her a buzz to let her know.
Keith.
Keith, yes.
Keith.
It wasn't Mayo, was it? It was Keith.
Mayo is still
Mrs.
on.
Keith. Yeah, Jennifer Keith.
All right. Let's jump to, we added 9D. And this is to pass on the, or discuss, vote to pass on the recommendation to add bulk propane storage to the A&R zone in the zoning ordinance to the planning board. So what is your pleasure after tonight's workshop? We'll all speak at once.
To send it back to the planning board for their review of bulk propane to be added to the.
As a conditional use.
Conditional use.
Yes.
So, you making that a motion, Dwayne?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Right. So, all those in favor of sending communications to the planning board to consider adding bulk propane storage as a conditional use to the A&R zone. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, so let's pin a nice letter to the
Not
planning
a
board.
change of use, but it's a addition of uses to
Additional
the
use
condition, yeah,
conditions. Okay.
under the conditional use section of the zoning.
All right, let's jump into old business. We'll be here for a while. Discuss possibility to vote on a moratorium for the solar energy. So, in your packet, you had from our attorney a potential moratorium ordinance for commercial solar facilities. Assuming that you had time to digest it and read it. And this will be effective as of this date, if we choose to accept it.
If everybody's read it, I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
What's your motion?
Yeah, what's the
My
motion?
motion is to create, to accept the moratorium on the solar facility ordinance.
Point of
Not
order?
ordinance, solar,
Can we do that before a public hearing, though? You have to have a public hearing on this. This is an ordinance. So I think you can approve it in concept, I guess, whatever. I don't know that you can approve this as a finished product tonight before that. You know, the charter requires if you're going to create an ordinance, you have to have a public
You're right, you
hearing.
gotta have a public hearing. but,
Right.
Vote to
I
approve the
thought-
concept and set a
I
public
thought the
hearing.
public hearing was last week.
No.
So the motion should be to approve the concept and schedule a public hearing.
Yes, absolutely.
And Mike, are you willing to accept that as a
Yeah.
change? So the
17th?
17th would be the public hearing.
No.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? That was quick. All right, discuss possible vote to adopt the Maine Municipal Association hybrid meeting policy. And again, this was in your packet, or in...
We got no choice of it.
I don't think we do have a choice. This is, the Maine legislature passed a law that said you can still have hybrid meetings, but you have to have a policy in order to do that.
Well, you can not meet remotely,
right.
period.
So what is your, what's your pleasure on Waterboro Board of Selectmen remote participation policy?
I'll approve it as written.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Everybody understands what we're doing here, right? We have to meet certain requirements to have a remote participation meeting.
To offer it out.
And to offer it out, so. And it is now a state law that allows us to do that as long as we have a policy. Okay? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay?
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
I had David second.
David.
Yeah.
All right. Continued discussion on contract zone request for apartment complex next to Southern Maine Health Center.
Mr. Alves is here, company. With some changes.
There is some changes. I did talk to council, and council said that the ordinance as written is for the use, not the type of building. So therefore, we will need a contract zone. Dave Alves, 200 Main Street, looking to propose a 36-unit, 3-building, 3-story with 3 1,000 square foot commercial spaces in front and a maintenance garage in the back. I have with me Mike Rogers, broker, who will fill you in on any details.
That's what you call passing the buck.
Yes.
Good evening. Feels like deja vu here from 2.5 weeks ago. I'm Michael Rogers. I'm a Portland resident and native. I'm an agent, real estate agent with the Bean Group out of South Portland. And this project, I was reviewing your comprehensive plan. It's fantastic. I reviewed previously, before the last meeting, your 2012 vision. And David's project, it checks all the boxes. It's a unique location. It's along an important transect of Waterboro, specifically in East Waterboro. It meets what the vision and the comprehensive plan wants. Commercial use in the front. You've got a narrow frontage of 187 feet approximately. It's an ideal having that use of commercial in the front and the residential in the back. The proximity to the abutting hospital, Hannaford, which is less than, I believe, a quarter mile away, and all those stores all around there, and the farm stand in the front. It's a nice mix, and it will enhance the lifestyle and the livability of the entire area. I don't want to repeat myself, but you've got all the, in your packet, the prospectus, and all the features that it would have. More than half the land will remain open space, and There's even dog friendly. There'll be a dog park for tenants who have dogs, friendly dogs. Do you have any questions?
So what we would be considering this evening is a density change.
What you're considering now is whether or not to send this idea to the planning board for their review and hearing. So you're really on a concept phase now. But yes, the density change is part of this concept, yes. But per zoning ordinance, pass it on to the planning board for their thorough review and public hearing, and comment back to the Board of Selectmen with recommendations on whether or not the application should proceed. Just for the contract zone concept, not site plan and subdivision. That comes later. And that's something I talked to Dave about today, that everybody, including Selectmen and Planning Board and the applicants, will have to make sure, since we haven't been doing contract zones here, everybody needs to understand that this is at the contract zone level and not site plan and subdivision review level.
So my one question that I've looked at since we first saw this, you're buying part of 49-1, which is the railroad bed.
Yeah.
Does that then become a substandard lot?
No, we're putting in everything's
No,
going to be one.
49-1 I'm talking about. 49-1 purchased some land on the railroad bed when they built that home.
Right.
So if they sell some of that land, is 49-1 residential?
Yes.
Now-
Are they still conforming?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we did the legal work on that, and I believe he might have sold the house.
Okay. That's all I had for.
Now, did you buy the piece across the street too?
No?
No, I see that it's
No.
Actually, that's
sale
under
pending or
contract,
something
so-
there, so I just.
Some-
I'm just trying to pump the
Somebody's
brakes a little bit.
Okay.
Somebody's buying it, or at least the sign says that.
I was gonna say, there's about a quarter of an acre or less there with a brook behind it, so just curious.
So our action really here tonight is to, again, pass this on to the planning board for conceptual review, right?
The contract zoning agreement, which is in your package, what I assume you've all read, that is a complete document in the eyes of the town attorney. So that would go along with the draft site plans and other materials from the applicant. And the planning board would tackle this with Lee J's help.
Okay? So with that,
I make a motion to send that to the planning board for review.
okay, do I have a second to that? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
5-0.
So that's another letter.
The planning board has nothing to do with this.
Well, they canceled the meeting because they didn't have anything to do. We're gonna fill that up now.
Thank you very much. What they need is a 10:30 p.m. Sure.
All right, under D, old business, continued discussion of possible vote on subdivision ordinance change request. This was a request,
Thank you, John.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good night. This was a request, went to Lee J, I think,
Yes.
from Paul
Truman.
Aluminum. And this changes the municipality by ordinance or the municipal reviewing authority has by regulation elected not to count lots of 40 or more acres as lots for the purpose of this subchapter when the parcel of land divided is located entirely outside any shoreline area, is that the language that is there today?
It's right out of the state statute, yeah. A town can exempt 40-acre lots if you want from the subdivision regulation.
We have done that through the planning board before. I'm confused on the whole thing too, but,
If you're going to do it, I think you have to have it in your ordinance and or subdivision
Yeah.
regs.
but we've got
Yeah.
many pieces here in town that was exempt from a subdivision because it was over 40 acres. I've seen this for the last 20 years in the planning board.
Yeah, some of those might not be accurate
Yeah.
in terms of what the planning board did or did not
Yeah.
do. Yeah. But this allows you to amend the ordinance to allow that exemption specifically going forward.
So again, really kind of falls back on the, what the planning board thinks, right?
Well, you folks too, I mean, you're the ones. that
Well, I mean,
change the ordinances.
ultimately, that's, you know,
Yep.
they're the cognizant board that looks at land use and zoning issues, right?
The fellow
I
was
mean, we
in-
might disagree, but,
Yeah.
you know, when
The
all said and
fellow-
done.
The fellow was in here last week and requested, 2 weeks ago, and requested this, but his whole idea of the whole thing is a family subdivision, which I don't think he needs, he does and he don't. It's a gray area to whether he does need it or don't need it.
This problem now is the people haven't owned it for 5 years to
5
get that
years
exemption.
to get the
So
exemption,
that's-
so that's where
So
he's
that's
coming here.
that's the exemption is that it hasn't been more than 5 years,
Yeah.
right?
It is not, that's why you cannot use that exemption to a family member. Yet, anyway.
But it's going to a family member, so you don't need a subdivision, and you don't, it's over 40 acres, so. It's still a gray area there.
If he waited 5 years,
Yeah.
he wouldn't even have to come to us.
That's right.
Right? So this probably will spur some thought, right?
The way I understood it last 2 weeks ago was it didn't need to go to the planning board, it was the selectmen's whole deal.
Yeah, but I would think we'd at least want
Want to
the
run it by-
opinion
Another set of
Yeah.
eyes.
of the planning
Yeah.
board. I understand that we're the ones that enact the ordinance
But that
changes.
was, through the town attorney that I believe come out.
I didn't bring that email from Natalie, unfortunately. I can go get it.
Well, I understand, we're the ones that approve the ordinance changes, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't think that we would do that without at least requesting some input from the planning board,
Yeah, that's fine.
right? And the code officer, or whatever the case may be.
You're really no rushing.
It may pay to just have a workshop on this one because, with the planning board, just to discuss it because, as I say, there's a gray area there that they can go around it, but
Yeah.
gotta wait a little bit.
You've got more than one issue you could put on the workshop, too.
Right. So is that your recommendation, Wayne? We have a workshop with the planning board?
Yeah,
Just toss this over the wall?
yeah. Rather than, toss it next door and not be able to discuss it between the two boards.
And the workshop probably should be on a Wednesday night, right? Because Lee J is available Wednesday nights, not Tuesday nights, right?
Yes.
So,
When did they meet again?
so you guys would meet again the 18th, but I don't know what's on the agenda for the 18th.
I haven't heard on the law revision.
You know, I missed that meeting. So and the next one would be the 1st?
Yeah, the first one.
So why don't we, Laura, talk to, see if we can put something together for the 1st. The planning board, you have to talk to Angela and see if there's something that we could put together and have the board and the planning board workshop.
Okay.
Oh, so you pick a planning board night and you folks go and workshop with them before?
Yeah, I would think that would make sense, right?
That way Lee J can
Yep.
attend.
Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
It does.
All right?
So tentatively, it's September 1st, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing that the 18th, they're gonna have,
Full plate.
all right,
Threw a lot at them.
okay. What's next here? Oh, 11, discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the July 20th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? And I will abstain.
401, Dennis.
Okay?
Right.
Pending decisions, I guess, on the week's action list, we've got a couple of letters to write to the planning board. Make sure that they officially receive a request from us. Agenda items. Mike, you had brought up revisiting with Levi and Dwayne. What were you looking for?
So we were looking for, in the article that was voted on, I think it was in 2018,
Yeah.
for the ATV ordinance. We were looking for clarification on enforcement
Yeah.
for that ordinance. I think there's no consensus around who's responsible for that, whether it's
Well,
they
it's certainly
or-
our contract deputies.
I'm not certain that that's clear. There may be some of the language around Bennett's Hill Road right now that's been taking place about it being owned by the town or not. Can we enforce that or not? And then there was also mentioned
Well,
that...
Bennett Hill Road is never part of that ordinance. It's Townhouse Road. I mean, it's Deering Ridge.
Deering's Ridge.
Correct, but we do have passage of ATVs on that road.
Right, and there's...
For the extent of it.
There's trailheads,
There are trailheads.
which is what Levi came back to us saying,
Yeah,
you have 1,500 feet from any trailhead. You
yeah.
can ride on a road.
And I just...
So I guess the question is this something that we should sit down with Levi and Dwayne?
I think it's something that we should sit down with Levi and Dwayne and talk in general about enforcement of the ordinance.
Okay.
Now, my understanding is that if they're contract deputies with the town, they must be constable to enforce ordinances, I would assume.
Well, they don't have to be a constable,
They
they're a
don't.
law enforcement
Yeah.
officer.
It would be,
Okay.
you're
There are-
right, at the discretion of the select board.
Yeah,
The two deputies and game wardens can enforce ATV
Correct.
issues.
That is
and-
correct, yeah.
okay.
So we could set something up with, and I don't know who's in charge of the contract deputies now?
I'll take care of that. We'll set something up.
Okay, so
Thank you.
anything else? We need to, the moratorium for the solar thing, we're gonna bring back at a public hearing, right?
Right.
The MMA hybrid meeting policy has been approved, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
So we don't have to come back to that. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, we could set that tentatively for the next meeting, the 17th, with those two deputies, make it work.
Yep, that'll work.
Let's do that.
We can just set it up as an
With,
appointment.
Yeah, it's an appointment with Dwayne and Levi.
Sometimes their shifts get over. One comes in, one goes out. but-
Correct, we'll make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we can come in a little earlier, or set it so.
Yeah, we're gonna be here at 5 for workshops anyways.
Yeah.
but-
Right.
Yeah.
We have any potential candidates that we need to interview? No? Okay. Well, we might stimulate some activity with the school board, the need for a school board appointment, so we'll see what happens.
You have
All right.
to put it on the agenda so that we can get that started.
If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a...
One very minor thing, I'll just let you know, I've been working with Matt on where things are in my office. I'll just tell you that town planner applications so far are a whopping 2 people. Matt knows where those applications are. We can take that issue from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? If nothing, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Don't forget the sign.